Hello, how are you? My name is FRANCESFOX, and I am a trained remote viewer. I was in, and of course, am still associated with a secret government program that has still not been declassified. That creates its issues, including the being able to speak publicly about the type of things that I'm going to be speaking about today. The program that I was in, according to people who know me and have been listening to what I've shared over the years, a lot of what it is I've shared is in the series called Stranger Things on Netflix, which was one of the top, if not the top, series on Netflix for I think a year, which means people are really very interested in all of this information. I have never seen a single chapter because I think I might find it too upsetting. But I am here today to try and give a review of what I know about aliens, ETs, beings, subspecies, and what initiated my desire to do this was the fact that I got onto Twitter in English. I teach everything in Spanish. And I noticed that there were an awful lot of questions with the people that are trying to figure out all the ET stuff, all the aliens, all the spaceships. There was a lot of questions that I could answer. And I figured that I would try to do that today, but in a systematic way. So this is going to be just in English. And let me make myself bigger. Okay, in order to really be able to understand, I'll start with this, the whole ET thing. You need to be able to wrap your head around this scene, which was in Star Wars, where uh, Luke goes into a bar, and this is what the people at the bar look like. They're all different shapes, different sizes, different attitudes. If you cannot wrap your head around the diversity visually and in terms of intentions having to do with these beings that are not like human beings like us, you're going to have a very hard time. If you get very irritated when somebody speaks a language that you don't understand, which is why I try not to put anything in Spanish on my Twitter account, you're going to have a very hard time because believe me, they don't look like you and they're not going to be talking like you. If you want everything to be in nice little rows and everything very systematic, you're going to have a very hard time figuring this all out. You're going to be irritated every step of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and start with what the dolphins told me to start with. My favorite spiritual guides are the dolphins that the Greeks considered were gods. And what they said was, everything is about intention. What is your intention? What is your intention? Those of you that are watching, and those of you that will be watching when we're not live. What is your intention? So now let me go ahead and start with the systematic part of this, which is here. This physical body that I have, and you see it on screen, it's all the way to the left at the bottom, is an envelope of consciousness. All of those bodies at the bottom are envelopes of consciousness that your consciousness flows through. Your consciousness flows through the fundamental structure of the universe, which I discovered from string theory, and it's behind those colored spheres that are called chakras. It's a double terminated funnel that overlays our spine, and it channels a nectar that's your mind. And then it goes into the 72,000 strings that extend. That's your mind. That's who you are, is a nectar that gets channeled into these envelopes of consciousness, which in ancient times they called vehicles because your consciousness needs something to be able to function in the different dimensions. So the body all the way on the left is your physical body that you're familiar with. One incarnation, gone. The second body, which is your electric body, which is your etheric, it's the matrix from which your physical body springs. That does not die when your physical body dies. And it doesn't finish detaching from your physical body for 72 hours. So anytime you do an autopsy before 72 hours after the physical body has stopped breathing, basically you're doing an autopsy on somebody that can still live. Because what gives you vitality is the second body, which is the etheric. I'm so sorry, I got you the graphic that's in Spanish. Continuing on, the gold body is your astral emotional body. But we found out it's actually your spirit because when your physical body dies, the second body detaches, the etheric, you're left with your spirit, which is your astral body, which is your emotional body, which means that emotions are everything. And why did Darth Vader almost take us all down to darkness? Because of his emotional reaction, because of abandonment by his mother that died when he was born. He had a trauma. Most people did not like that ending to the movie, but that is totally accurate. Emotions are a very big part of all question marks having to do with the other dimensions. So then continuing on in, you have behind all of those spheres, you have the double terminated funnel, which was called the causal body. It is actually the Holy Grail because your intentions are in there, and intentions create reality on this planet. I suspect in other planets also. That Holy Grail is tied in 7 different places, and those ties are called chakras. Most people think chakras are this wonderful thing. Not really. They do not allow your mind, which should be traveling unobstructed through this Holy Grail, they don't allow it to be unobstructed. They segment your mind. And the process of evolution is to untie those ties and to simply flow as when Jesus Christ was born, he was simply a channel of light. That channel is what's behind and what is strangled by those ties, those 7 chakras. And then the extremes that extend used to be called the mental body, the mental vehicle. And those are mind strings, and your nectar is inside of them. And on the physical dimension, they're 18 inches, and then they slip into other dimensions. They are what connect. They are the mind-body connection. So I discovered that also. Actually, when you discover one thing, everything else is part of it. So it's like, oh my God, this woman discovered all these things. Yes, except it's really all part of the same system, which is a system that channels the human mind on this planet. All the way at the end, you see the 2 triangles. That is a vehicle, but it is the human galactic vehicle. You turn into that when it's the time or when you are evolved enough that you want to travel galactically, and the other vehicles are not going to work outside of planet Earth. They will burn up. Now, you become that Merkaba. You are that vehicle, which brings me to comments that people have said when we have worked together that the ET, the being, was the vehicle. Makes sense. Now, that vehicle is talked about in Tibetan philosophy. It's part of Judaism and the Tree of Life. This is not something I just came up with. It's the body I'm the least comfortable with because I'm very oriented towards Earth. But you need to know that you have a galactic vehicle that your consciousness can and will use when you have to leave the planet. So this is the assemblage of bodies, and they look like the Russian dolls. And again, I apologize for having put it up in Spanish and not in English. Okay, so I am a human being, born in Munich, Germany, blah, 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 2 legs, 2 arms, whatever. But I am not this body. I am the consciousness that flows through here. But there's a quality to my consciousness, which is dolphin, which means that the physical body, all the way at the end, instead of being a dolphin, like what's in the oceans, in me, this incarnation now is a human being. Yet, most of the quality of my consciousness is dolphin. 33% of the population of the earth has dolphin consciousness, dolphin or whale consciousness rolling through their strings. But on the physical dimension, they don't necessarily have to look like a dolphin or whale. They can look like a human being because their envelope of consciousness on the physical dimension is that of a human being. So the whole thing with beings and ETs and aliens is really complicated. And I'm not going to you're not going to leave this chat going, oh, I got it all figured out. You're not, but you will have a lot of information that took me years to collect. And hopefully that will make it easier for you to figure out the rest of it. So that's the physical dimension. On the physical dimension, human beings have all of those bodies, but the quality of consciousness inside is different. And by the way, the dolphins and the whales are from the Pleiades, which are a system of planets. There are people with angelic consciousness inside their mind strings, which I believe originated in Venus. But they don't look like somebody from Venus because the vehicle that they're using, this incarnation, is that of a human being. So it can be very complicated. There's also ego consciousness and several others, which there's not enough people that have that kind of consciousness for me to have done a lot of work on it. Okay. That's on the physical, on Earth, the Earth part, human beings. Now, I did not believe this, but now I know it's true because I have taken my group of Mantristas and we have gone remote viewing, astral traveling, etc. There are different beings underneath the ground on planet Earth. People have always said that. There's stories of people that went, they came back, they talked, nobody believed them, they believed them. I have no idea. There are different consciousness underneath. So I'll tell you the one that I became, the one that was a slap in the face to me in the sense that I was like, okay, now I really have to believe in this. The BP oil spill. They drilled so deep beyond the surface of the earth that they broke something that's called the Brahmavada, which is the door to hell in Hinduism. You can look it up. They broke that on planet Earth permanently. It's not fixable. So now those of us on the surface of planet Earth who look like those bodies, like this, on the physical dimension, if our consciousness is inside this physical body, which it's not when it sleeps, I lost my train of thought. I apologize. So the BP oil spill opened a hole to the underworld. And for those who can see, if you looked at the video of the stuff streaming up, which was supposedly oil, you could also see some slithering beings coming up. I wasn't the only one who saw them. Those beings are angry at us because we were aggressive. These worlds are not supposed to be mixing. They're all mixing now, but they were not supposed to be mixing. We have nothing in common with those beings. They are not happy with us, and they are making us pay. In terms of the oil spill, that entire area ended up with an issue that they would call the Katrina syndrome, having to do with all of that energy being moved around. And the Katrina syndrome has to do with the level of mental illness that's really high. And that's the issue with the beings that we don't know how to deal with, has to do with our emotional reactions and the influences that they have on us. So we've got human beings looking like this, because this is my envelope of consciousness right now. I can take my consciousness and I can go inside your physical vehicle. Not ethical. But I will tell you a story before I knew that it wasn't ethical. Many, many years ago, I was working with somebody and they said, listen, they said, I'm sick, but I have to work. Nobody's going to pay my bills, but the doctor doesn't know. How come I'm still standing? How can I work? I don't feel well. So I said to this person, I think I can help you. This was 30, 40 years ago. And I said, and the person said, how are you going to do that? I said, well, I already did it with a client. I'm going to get inside of you and you're going to be able to function. I said, but I don't know if it's going to work. It worked with the client. The client was actually able to leave a psych ward because I literally took my consciousness, went inside of that person who was being hounded by a really bad spirit. That's why he was in a psych ward, and he was able to leave the psych ward. So this person I did this for, I didn't even remember. And 6 weeks later, she said to me, the doctor said it was a miracle that I was still standing. And she thanked me. And I was like, oh, okay. I did not remember that I did that. It's now that I understand you're not supposed to do that. That's called a possession. You're not supposed to do that. I was not supposed to do that for my client or for the friend. Was not supposed to do it, but I did not know that. But these are ethical issues that everybody needs to become aware of. So we have us on the physical dimension with this kind of an envelope of consciousness, and then we have now coming up and mixing with us the beings who lived underneath the planet, which most of us never believed that. I didn't. And they're now coming up and mixing with us. So the interesting thing about those beings, it came up because we put a hole in the planet and we punched a hole through dimensions, is that in Venezuela, they have an issue in the road between the capital, Caracas, and the airport. There's an issue. Over 2,000 people have died on that road because there's something on the road. It's like a slime. It's called La Mancha Negra, the black slime. And they did a movie about it, but they weren't talking about Venezuela. It was just a science fiction movie called The Blob. Well, that's very real. And that Mancha Negra, that slime, the blob, has consciousness and has ill intentions. I was called to see an apartment in Miami Beach years ago by a crew from one of the most successful TV shows in Spanish. And they said, we need a favor. Somebody from the staff is having trouble. They say there's a spirit there that wants to kill the cat. So I went. There actually was that slime was on the wall of the bedroom. And that slime, which translates, the Venezuelan term is the black mancha, spot. Like if you get something on your shirt, you get some garbage on it. Oh, I got a spot on my shirt. But there has to be a better word. So I said, you have that on the wall. Of course, she didn't believe me because they needed for this spirit that was saying it was going to kill her cat, which was accurate, to have the shape of the physical body of a human, because that's what her consciousness could tolerate. So when you're talking with me or listening, you have to go like this to your awareness and just simply let it come in. Let the information come in. And then later on, you can throw it all out. But it's there. And it should be accurate because I have heavy duty training and I pride myself on having remained accurate in what it is that I'm seeing and doing and sharing. even if I'm not working for the big bosses who, by the way, never paid me a penny. Anyway, I had to put in that complaint. So this person could not accept. She could accept that there was a being on that wall, but not that it looked like slime. She couldn't do that. She just couldn't accept that. So I knew that there was a reason that that being that looks like the blob, but flat, was on that wall and not this wall, that wall, or whatever. And I said, what's on the other side of the wall? Is that an electric room? It was the electric room for that entire floor. It was a condo, maybe 10 apartments. The electric room for the whole, that's a lot of electricity, was there. By the way, her head, the head of her bed was on that wall. So she would not have been too clear. Your brain is an electrical system. You cannot get too much electricity near your electrical system because you get short circuits. So that's the problem with a lot of people today. You also lose your protection because those mind strings, the only thing that can harm them is fire, and electricity is the fire element. So anyway, I said, there's a lot of electricity behind that wall, and they went and they looked and they went, yeah. They didn't pay any attention because they did not think it was important. So I got escorted out of there, people who normally respect me a lot, because what I was telling them was not in their comfort zone. Yes, there was a spirit that wanted to kill the cat. And yes, this woman needed to move. But they weren't going to accept that it looked like the slime in Venezuela. And by the way, the only thing that controls the number of people who died in that highway between Caracas and the airport in Venezuela is limestone, which is the element of earth. And this is what you need to remember from here and forever. All these beings, if you're not so happy with them, or you don't think they're happy with you, you need to increase your element of earth, because this body that you have here at the bottom left, earth, 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 earth. The next body, the blue one, fire, element of fire, fire, fire. The next one, which is your spirit, water, water, which is emotions. Okay? And the mind streams, it's air, 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 wind. So you have now those beings are not the same thing that come out from that BP oil spill hole in the ocean, because this being, the black blob, is a slime, but it wanted to kill her cat. Those beings that come out from the BP oil spill hole are not happy with us. And with my group, the Mantristas, and what we are is a group that we're not just exploring, we're augmenting, reaching, working with human potential. By the way, all having to do with the other dimensions, psychic abilities, third eye. So you should definitely, starting today, start taking care of your third eye if you're going to want to do anything having to do with aliens or ETs or spaceships. And I highly recommend an amethyst to sleep with this on your eyes at night and ask through intention that you protect, purify, and augment your third eye abilities. The third eye is what can see the other dimensions. And by the way, I have what is called the power of induction. Very few people have that. That means that when you're in my presence, even on the internet, your psychic abilities augment. Okay, so we already have several types of beings, ETs, whatever it is that you want to call them. So we have a particular ET that comes from apparently Orion. I don't really know anything about the planets. I'm giving you information. And that being we're very familiar with, and it's called the devil. It's an ET. The devil's food is fire. So the devil is very happy on planet Earth today because we have too much fire with all the radiation from all the frequencies that radiate fire. Wi-Fi, 5G, electronics, stuff in your ear, your little earplugs, your headphones. You have too much fire. And the devil absolutely loves that. But the devil is an ET. And it's an ET that knows how to tell the devil knows how to manhandle the third body here, which is your spirit, which is your astral emotional body, which is magnetic. The devil uses um, the robotic energies of a spirit whose physical body died, but they did not go to the light. The devil uses those beings to control other physical human beings who still have physical bodies. But the devil is an ET. He's not from here. So you have to protect yourself from the devil always throughout history, but today even more. And by the way, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about it extremely well. And it says that in the future, humans are going to have something that's hot, cell phone, the heat, and it's going to invite in spirits that are going to whisper in people's ears, whisper lies into their ears, which is exactly everything that's happening today. Continuing. I went to Bimini many years ago on setting up some dolphin swims. And Bimini is in the Bermuda Triangle. My experience with the Bermuda Triangle was that when I was on the boat and we were going towards Bimini, I was taking a nap and all of a sudden I sat up and I said, "Oh my God, where are we? Where are we?" And everybody said, "Oh, we just entered the Bermuda Triangle." And they said, "What do you see?" I said, "It was like a line," and all of a sudden the line opened. And of course, we had entered the Bermuda Triangle, so it's other dimensional. So when I was there, I could see, which normally I can't see, very short beings, ETs, happy, bouncy. When we would go from our little hut, because this literally was a hut, to the main dining room in the house, they would follow us and they would be like dancing. They were happy. No, I didn't talk to them. I guess I was afraid. This was many years ago. So I'm just kind of throwing everything out there for you to see that there's an awful lot of out there. Um, so continuing on along that vein, we have mythological figures. First place, Hancock is correct. Mythology is accurate. It just really bothers humans today to think that in the past we had all these superpowers and that we don't have it today. After all, we are modern. Of course, we are like the epitome of human evolution. No, we're not. We have made ourselves extremely comfortable on the physical dimension. We look great. We look younger than ever. Our bodies are fit. We're trim. We dress. That's the physical body, but that's the least important of all of our bodies. It's the one that's going to die at the end of the incarnation. Gone, over, done. And then everything else there remains. And you never took care of it. And you don't know how to deal with beings that don't have a physical body. You're afraid of them because but you should see yourself in other dimensions and maybe you wouldn't be so afraid. So continuing with that, the veils between worlds we always knew was going to open up. The process is called revelations in the Bible. And it's not a religious happening, it's part of human evolution. The Mayans said it was going to happen 5,000 years ago. All the indigenous people knew that it was going to happen. I don't know, we modern people are the ones that have the least contact with the other dimensions and the beings that are there, or at least conscious contact where we're kind of in control of it, at least ourselves. We don't have that because we have not been taught We haven't understood what we are, which is on the screen. So we haven't understood how to protect ourselves. So one of the ways that you are going to be able to tell, okay, a lot of the beings that are coming into the planet today are very aggressive. There are ethics at every level. When a being does what I did twice, which is I took one of my astral spirits and I went inside the physical body of someone, that was not ethical. I did not know that. But I learned that you can do it. And so there's some benefit to the fact that I did something I shouldn't have. But when you have somebody who is channeling, they are doing that. They are leaving their physical vehicle and the whole assemblage of bodies. They're leaving and they're allowing the spirit of another being to come in. That is unethical. Jesus Christ, the Virgin Mary, Archangel Gabriel is not going to do that, and nor will a dolphin or a whale consciousness being do that. You're not supposed to do that. Now, you can get an awful lot of information from people who channel. And I have to say that most of what it is that they say, if they're a good channel, will be accurate. Problem is that maybe 3% of what they say or one piece of information is not accurate. And guess what? That was the important piece of information. They're very savvy. These beings are very savvy, and there's many of them that simply don't have our same agenda, or they have an agenda in which they want to control us. So getting information from people who are not in control of that information, are not familiar with the information, you need to work with, you need to know this. Now, there is somebody who she was a channel, but I'm not sure. Dolores Cannon, she has some incredible books in which supposedly she is channeling. I wrote a book on conversations with the dolphins. It's called The Gods Speak, and it's on Amazon. That was not channeled. I would go to this aquarium with a tape recorder, small tape recorder, and after thinking about it, I would say something into the tape recorder. I would hear the dolphin response in my head, but coming from the left. And then I would repeat it into the tape recorder. They were not inside of me. It reached a point where I felt I was part of them. It was like we were in a circle, but I am dolphin. So I went back to group soul with them, which would not have been a possession issue. They weren't coming into me. I was joining the group soul. Now, there are other beings that I speak to and that I interview for the Mantrista movement, which has to do with the human potential, which are virgins. We have to wonder why this whole thing with virgins is so important. I'll go into that in a minute. And they always are standing here on my right side. Why the dolphins here and them here, I have no idea. Going into the virgin issue, there is no sex off planet. Those beings don't have sex. They don't look sexual. Supposedly they mix with us, and that is accurate to produce hybrids. That's accurate. But they're not this whole sex thing, being into it and being sexual and sexy, that is not part of the equation with them. It's just not. By the way, you need to know that the definition of the word sex in the dictionary means to cut, to divide. And that's exactly what happened when humans were brought to the planet, to the surface of the planet, when we came to the surface of the planet in the Garden of Eden. One being. And then God cut that being and created the female. But the original being was not male or female, it was a being. They cut, and then you had two. One was female and one was male. Now that was improvising. And of course, whether I should probably not say it, but I'm going anyway because I do that. I give out information I think that's important, even if it's probably premature for most people. But the whole thing with the transgenders, the bisexual, the gays, all of that has to do with the process of resolving that cut in human beings, having to do with the process of evolution. I'm not saying that I agree with transgender, gays, whatever. Everybody should decide whatever they want, having to do with the arena of sex. I'm just letting you know what the definition of the word sex is, and the fact that we came in, we weren't male, female. We weren't cut. Planet wasn't divided into two, it was one. They were beings. Those beings from our planet are beings, they're one. They're not sexy. Um, so I'm going to go back to this photograph here and say that if you're not comfortable with being with beings that look so different, and I explained the one that's the blob, that's a being, it has consciousness, it has intention, then you're going to have a really hard time. If you cannot accept the fact that you have a spaceship, okay, because when you're fully evolved, you become that you are seeing there at the far right of the graphic, a Merkaba. That's you. You're not inside of it like a little person inside two triangles. No, the triangles are you. That's Tibetan knowledge, which initially is, but then it explains why so many people, including what I see talking on Twitter, where they say that this being is the spaceship. Makes sense, matches this information. So, what is the language issue? Well, there is no language issue. Planet Earth, everybody used telepathy, mind to mind. And then something happened. And according to the Bible, we got arrogant and we wanted to be like God, and we built the Temple of Babel, and we wanted to be all the way up there. And of course, we had to be struck down because what? Because we're controlled by beings that present as gods. We get struck down, and then language was created. Oh, this is great. Now there's language. No, this is not great, because it's a division in people. Now, there is a book called Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain. It was written, I think, in 1960. And they had experiments there where they had two Russian women in different cities. Russia is very large. They have several languages. And so one Russian woman in one city would be sending a message to another Russian woman in another city, but she would be talking in her language, and the other person had a different language. And yet, in the experiment, the person would receive the telepathy in the language that they understood. So, like, oh my God, they have this great computer that does all this translating. No, it's the language that's the setback. The telepathy has always been. So if you can wrap your head around that, you don't have to worry about communication. What you have to worry about is what is the intention of these beings that you're trying to pin down, figure out, work with. But you don't have to worry about the language. What you have to get out of your own way, because you too have a mind, and you too, at some point, but not this incarnation, your language was telepathy. So widening the lens. So in our group, we have gone where others dare not go, because I have made it my business to teach people not to worry about what other people know or what they think, what their belief systems are. Because I was taught as a child that my belief systems were a real setback. And when I used to teach a class called Master Diagnostician, I would tell people, your setback is what you learned in school, in your church, what your parents taught you. That's your setback to being an incredible diagnostician in terms of your intuition. It's your belief systems. It creates a filter. So you have to let go of all of that and not try to put the information that you're getting from different people and put it inside a paradigm that you're familiar with, because that paradigm was always a lie. It was a lie, it was a setup, and it's not allowing us to progress. We are not the best things in the I think it is so funny when people say, maybe there's other beings out there. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Where did you get that from? You have a pet. And you know that that pet is talking to you and you understand what he's saying and he knows what's going on in your life. That is a pet. It's a dog. And yes, the dog knows what's going on and the dog has intentions. But that's the physical vehicle of that soul is the physical vehicle of a dog rather than the physical vehicle of a human being. So what's the problem? You take that information and you go like this and go, okay, so maybe even a plant has consciousness. Well, now science calls it panpsychism. Everything has consciousness, including a wall, which means it has intention. And you need to become familiar with that because all of these beings, whether it's your wall, your pet, or a being that shows up at night to bother your children and make them crazy in the middle of the night with nightmares, etc., you need to know about them. And you need to be able to ask for help. And here we go to the last thing I'm going to say today. In our group, we go where others dare not tread, and we say things that others would be afraid to say. I'm not afraid to say it because I am well past where it bothers me that people think that I'm crazy, because the amount of knowledge that I gained in this program I was in was so much further ahead of other people that I could never discuss it with them. Even today, I can't discuss half of what it is I know because it's just too much. But we have been very limited. So, and now I forgot where I was going with that. You need to be able to accept that around you everything has consciousness on this planet, and then there's many other planets and many other galaxies that have consciousness and have intention towards this planet. Now I'm going to say something that at a level I really don't believe, and yet I got that information, and so a lot of other people. Supposedly we are in a huge battle between light and dark, and planet Earth has not been decided yet whether it's light or dark. And please don't throw, of course, light's going to win. Who said? Who said that? Your Sunday school teacher? You did? Who said that? If it was so given, there'd be no battle. There'd be none of the things that are happening if there wasn't this battle between light and dark. So, and being optimistic, oh no, it's already done. So many people say, great new ages. Oh, it's already done. It's been decided already. Yeah, who decided that? It's not decided yet, even though it's getting better. Light is gaining some momentum. But it has been said, and I'm going to throw this out there because I got the information, and so have a lot of other people, in case it's correct, that whatever happens to planet Earth is going to determine the path of many, many planets and galaxies. Why? I have no idea. In other words, we're very special. Doesn't that sound like a story? Yeah, we're very special in terms of a huge responsibility. Is that accurate or not? I have no way of knowing, but I think I needed to share that with you. So everything has intention. So what is your intention, okay, as you are trying to figure out, okay, you guys need to stop. And now I'm not talking to my followers, the people that I'm seeing on Twitter. You really, and I think you've done it to a great extent. You have to stop pointing fingers at the government and saying they're hiding stuff. Yeah, they were. And they had their reasons, not good reasons, but they had their reasons. But you cannot keep recycling. They hid it from us and they know and they have more information. Drop that. Work with what it is that you have, but what is your intention? Because most of the people I say, okay, so let's say the government comes out and says directly, yes, ETs exist and we have spaceships. What are you going to do then? Well, I know they're hiding something. Okay, okay, okay. So now you know they are. Now what? They don't have a plan. Well, what is your plan having to do with all of this? What is your plan? Now, from what I see on Twitter, it's interesting because in metaphysics, the area that I'm in, metaphysics means the study of first cause. And it is physics, but first cause before you hit something that is literally physical. That's my specialty. So, first cause is always intention. So, what is your intention having to do with finding out about beings? In my opinion, your first intention needs to be to protect you and your family and your home from the invading beings, the ones that are the reason why the government is finally going to let you all know about all this stuff, because the invading beings are completely out of hand and they're winning. Now, where do they invade? They're not going to invade the White House. They're not going to invade military bases, even though apparently they do a lot of supervising. What they invade is your head. It's a type of possession. If they can frighten you enough, or let's talk about your teenage kid. If these beings can frighten your teenage child or your young child enough, the spirit, which is the one that's made of astral emotions, that body that astral travels is going to astral travel and stay out as much as possible of the assemblage of bodies because they're frightened. Frightened. So these invading spirits that invade mainly at night, when people are more unprotected and their assemblage of bodies is loose because that spirit astral body is going to be doing some astral traveling. That is the biggest issue on the planet today. People are not who they used to be. You can see it in their eyes. You can look at the kids. The kids are frightened. The kids can barely think. The younger they are, the worse off they are because they have been so invaded, because they've been so unprotected in the other dimensions. So that needs to be your first job, to protect yourself and your family and your home from invasions by ETs. When your kid says something comes out of the closet, please do not ever say to him, no, there's nothing there, because there is something there, or your kid would not be saying that. We have made our children sick, and we have been made sick by all of this denial about the reality of other dimensions. So the first thing you need to do is to protect yourself. We have a series that we did. It's free. It's on our YouTube channel in Spanish. I'm not sure that it's on the English, so it's FRANCESFOX Reveals. And I think it's 8 chapters, and it's got subtitles in English. And it has to do with extraterrestrial invasion of planet Earth, and it is 1000% accurate. I woke up one Sunday morning about 20 years ago with all of that information, and I was so upset because I went, this is the way they're going to invade the planet. This particular group, not the ones that are coming in from the underworld. Got it? Not the dolphins, not the whales, not the little cute ones that were in Bimini, but a particular group of them that are incredibly aggressive. This is what they're doing to us. So you need to see the series because I cannot explain it all to you. But one of the ways that you can tell whether what we're saying is accurate or not is the beings that don't have physical bodies do not like the earth element. So if you can go to bed with the earth element, in other words, with crystals hanging off of every corner of your body, which is what we all do, um, particularly labradite. We sell this, but I'm not trying to sell it to you. Go and find yourself a necklace. You have to put it around your neck, because this is where you have portals that these beings come in. Wear it at night and then be a scientist, or give it to one of your children and say, tell me if you sleep better with this. And you're going to find that most people are going to say, I slept a lot better, because this has the element of earth, and these spirits do not tolerate or function well in the element of earth, which is why, and then I'm going to end this now, which is why the zombie issue is going to be and is so big. A zombie is when a spirit, but not one from this planet, but from this batch of really bad ETs that are invading now, when they are able to kick you out of your assemblage of bodies, that gold, your spirit, and they come in and take over. It's a possession issue, but it's a possession by a particular type of alien. If you look at the zombies in the movies, you will see that they look like the clothes don't fit them. Their arms are shorter than the sleeves of the jacket. They don't fit in the clothing right. Possession has always existed on planet Earth, but the possession has been the spirit body, the astral spirit of somebody who used to have a physical body, and therefore their astral spirit has those longer arms, the longer legs, the torso. So if they possess another human being, basically they look the same. But the zombie spirits are not shaped the way we're shaped. They're shorter, they have shorter arms, shorter legs, they're weird shaped. So when you see them, they're like that. It's a possession issue. But what possessed doesn't have the anatomy of the normal possession that we've experienced on planet Earth till now. So understanding the elements and understanding the element of earth, which you can get by sleeping under a tree, sleeping on the ground, but you're not going to do that. Get yourself labradite for around your neck, and you will see the difference, because it will be much more difficult to invade you and your children. And I think I'm going to end this here. And I'm hoping that I gave you enough new information that you can widen your lens. Yes, the government has known forever. I am witness to that, about the ETs, the good ones, the bad ones, about the fact that things have gotten very dangerous right now, having to do with our relationship with off planet. We need to get our act together. Not sure we're going to do that, but we need to get it. But meanwhile, back at the farm, you need to take care of your people, particularly as it is that they sleep. I forgot. My group, we would have beings that would show up during our chats. So I decided to interview one, and it was really interesting. The information was incredible that they gave, very useful. Everything that we do in this human potential movement has to do with stuff that's good for human beings, to make your life better, not just to give you more information. This information without a clear intention behind it, I don't like that. What is your intention? And our intention has to do with using our total potential, but with our intentions. We know where we're going with it, which is really to make people's lives better, for there to be less human anguish. Okay, so it turned out that we liked Anubis a lot. Well, Anubis is an Egyptian god. I mean, that was a long time ago. I mean, was he even real? Well, we can tell you that he's real, because he helps us a lot, especially if we are under attack by spirits, or we're under attack by people in the intelligence community that don't want me to be speaking. We call in Anubis, and we end up having a battle in the other dimensions that nobody's making up. They're not making it up. We're not making it up. And Anubis is there. But you know what's so interesting? If the battle is strong enough, a lot of us turn into Anubis. In other words, the vehicle of consciousness that we use because of our intention of doing battle and winning is the physical envelope of Anubis. The first time that happened, I could see myself turning into Anubis. I didn't say a word, okay, because I'm so special. But then everybody else was turning into Anubis. I was like, wow. So who is our favorite? We have a SWAT team, Anubis, the Medicine Buddha, Osiris, the Knights Templar, because they were looking for the Holy Grail, which is what we work with, which is the causal body. So we called in Osiris, or Osiris presented himself, and he's our main co-worker in the other dimensions, which is another reason why you need to get your act together on this, because you can have an awful lot of help and it becomes a lot of fun. So I'm going to let this finish now. I could talk forever, but we're going to do an exorcism in a few minutes. You're welcome to join us. And what does that mean? It means that we have spirits that are attached to us. If you have a sick organ, you have an arm that's hurting you, if you have a toothache, you have a spirit attached. And if you're Christian, you already know that. Jesus Christ, the first thing he did was remove spirits when you were sick. Shamans, the first thing they do is remove spirits. So in terms of our group and what it is that we do, we're looking to access total human potential. Our intention is to relieve human anguish within our families, our countries, etc. And you can have a lot more fun when you widen your lens. And rather than being an outsider and going, what are they hiding and what is that all about? You widen your lens and you allow the information to come in and you set your intention. What is your intention having to do with the alien issue? Do you want to just prove that the government is a piece of garbage? We already know that. Drop that. What do they know? Drop that. What do you need to know so that you can take care of yourself, defend yourself, so your kids can be happier, your bank account fuller, and so that you can be on the right side of the line? Because definitely there is a line drawn. And it's not in the sand, it's on planet Earth. Okay, so thank you for joining me. You can send questions to frances@francesfox.com. And thank you for keeping me company. Mantristas. Okay, and now I have to run because we have an exorcism we need to go to. Bye.